The single most catastrophic military intelligence failure in galactic history began with a filing error. Not a particularly dramatic filing error, mind you. Just the sort of mundane, bureaucratic mishap that would make a perfectly reasonable being question the fundamental nature of existence itself, wonder why they had chosen a career in interstellar conquest, and seriously consider taking up something more relaxing, like juggling live grenades. Commander Thrixian Bulwart of the Galactic Conquest Assessment Division had been having what he considered a rather pleasant morning. His coffee substitute was only mildly toxic, his hemorrhoids weren't acting up, and nobody had tried to assassinate him yet. By the standards of intergalactic bureaucracy, this constituted a practically perfect day. The sort of day that made him whistle cheerfully while reviewing planets marked for conquest, humming little tunes about the systematic destruction of civilizations. "Sir!" His assistant, a nervous creature called Plimpkin, whose species had evolved from what could only be described as anxious lint, burst through the door with all the grace of a startled refrigerator. Plimpkin had the unfortunate habit of absorbing stress through his pores, which meant that on particularly busy days he resembled a walking anxiety attack covered in what appeared to be cosmic dandruff. "The Earth assessment report is ready, sir. Fresh from the analysis department." Thrixian looked up from his breakfast of what appeared to be cereal but was actually a complex tactical analysis disguised as breakfast food. Each crunchy bit contained detailed information about planetary defenses, and the milk was a nutritional supplement that enhanced strategic thinking. It was the sort of breakfast that made ordinary cornflakes seem like a profound philosophical statement about the nature of simplicity. Ah, excellent. The primitive mudball with the carbon-based bipeds, the ones who are supposedly still banging rocks together? That's the one, sir. According to our comprehensive analysis, they have no military capabilities whatsoever. No space fleet, no energy weapons, no defensive shields, no quantum torpedoes, no reality-bending devices, no interdimensional cannons, no time displacement artillery. They're still using chemical propulsion and metal projectiles. The commander nearly choked on his tactical cereal, sending bits of strategic analysis flying across his desk. Metal projectiles? Are you telling me they're still throwing rocks at each other? Well, very small rocks, sir. Very fast small rocks that explode, but yes, essentially primitive rock-throwing technology. They haven't even figured out how to make rocks that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. What neither of them knew was that the report had been accidentally filed under harmless backwater planets suitable for recreational conquest, instead of planets that will absolutely ruin your day if you mess with them under any circumstances whatsoever. The original report, which contained observations like warning, "These beings have turned warfare into an art form," caution, "They consider nuclear weapons a reasonable response to minor disagreements," and urgent, "They have weaponized mathematics and aren't afraid to use it," was currently being used as a coaster for Admiral Squishface's morning beverage in the accounting department. The real report also contained a detailed analysis of human military history, including helpful notes such as, "These beings once had a war that lasted 100 years over who had the better claim to a throne. They invented something called trench warfare, which is exactly as horrible as it sounds, and they have a disturbing tendency to turn anything, including kitchen utensils, into weapons of mass destruction." "Ah, splendid!" Thrixian rubbed his hands together, which was unfortunate since his species had developed acidic secretions specifically for this purpose. His desk began to smoke slightly. A quick, easy conquest to pad the quarterly reports. Deploy the recreational invasion fleet. "The recreational fleet, sir?" "Oh, yes. The ships we use for training exercises and weekend conquests. No point bringing the serious hardware for a bunch of primitives who are probably still impressed by fire. Send the trainees. Give them some field experience conquering something harmless. The recreational invasion fleet consisted of ships that were basically cosmic RVs with weapons attached. They were designed for comfort rather than combat, equipped with things like beverage dispensers, entertainment systems, and adjustable seating. The sort of vessels you'd take for a pleasant weekend of light conquering in the Outer Rim territories. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Penelope Crankshaw was having the sort of morning that made her question her life choices, her career decisions, and her fundamental understanding of probability theory. As the head of the Department of Improbable Defense Scenarios, she spent her days planning for things that would never happen, preparing for contingencies that were statistically impossible, and developing responses to situations that existed only in the fevered imaginations of military strategists who had read too much science fiction. Her office was a testament to paranoid preparation. The walls were covered with charts labeled alien invasion probability matrices, interdimensional threat assessment protocols, and what to do when reality stops making sense. Her filing cabinets contained detailed plans for everything from invasion by sentient vegetables to attack of the bureaucratic nightmares to the day mathematics became hostile. Dr. Crankshaw! Her assistant, a perpetually caffeinated graduate student named Binkley Thornsworth, came running into her office with the sort of manic energy that suggested either a breakthrough discovery or a complete nervous breakdown. Binkley had been working on his dissertation about the psychological effects of preparing for impossible events for the past 7 years, and the irony of his situation was not lost on him. The space monitoring station just picked up something weird, and I mean weird, on a scale that breaks our existing weirdness classification system. Define weird, Binkley, on a scale of mildly unusual to the laws of physics, are having a nervous breakdown and demanding therapy. More like several hundred alien ships just appeared in our solar system and they're broadcasting what appears to be smooth jazz mixed with what sounds like elevator music from the 7th dimension. Penelope dropped her coffee mug, which contained a special blend designed to enhance paranoid thinking and improve crisis management skills. It shattered on the floor with the sort of crash that seemed to echo through the fundamental fabric of reality, each fragment spinning in a way that suggested the universe itself was having second thoughts about causality. What? Are you telling me that after 15 years of preparing for alien invasion, they've actually arrived and they're playing Muzak? They're also sending what looks like a formal invasion notice, but it's written in Comic Sans font, sir. Comic Sans, with little smiley face emoticons. Comic Sans, these beings have mastered interstellar travel, conquered the vast emptiness of space, developed technology that defies our understanding of physics, but haven't figured out basic typography. What kind of civilization uses Comic Sans for official military communications? Binkley consulted his tablet, which was displaying readings that suggested reality was having what could only be described as a minor existential crisis. According to our linguistics department, the message also includes what appears to be a customer satisfaction survey. They want us to rate their invasion experience on a scale of 1 to 10. A customer satisfaction survey for an invasion. I need to sit down. Dinner. The invasion notice, when it finally arrived at various government agencies through what appeared to be a combination of advanced alien technology and cosmic email spam, was indeed a masterpiece of bureaucratic incompetence that would have impressed even the most dedicated earthly bureaucrats. It read, "Attention Earth beings. Your planet has been selected for conquest through our patented Quick Conquest TM process. Please prepare for immediate surrender. Resistance is futile and also probably pointless, though we understand if you need a moment to process this information. We will arrive shortly, weather permitting and assuming no mechanical difficulties. Please have your surrender documents ready in triplicate. Blue ink preferred, but black is acceptable. Thank you for your cooperation and patience during this transitional period. The Galactic Conquest Assessment Division, Customer Service Department, Recreational Conquest Branch, subsidiary of Universal Domination Incorporated. The document also included a helpful FAQ section with questions like, what should I do with my pets during conquest? And will my wireless internet still work under alien rule? And can I get a receipt for my surrendered planet for tax purposes? The President of the United States, a man named Fitzgerald Grimbaldi, who had won the election, primarily because he promised to make Monday mornings illegal, and had somehow convinced the American people this was both possible and desirable, stared at the document with the expression of someone who had just discovered that reality was having a particularly bad day and had decided to take it out on him personally. So, he said to his assembled cabinet, gathered in the Situation Room around a table that had witnessed more crises than a customer service hotline, aliens are invading. They want us to fill out paperwork about it, and they're asking for our feedback on the experience. That appears to be the situation, sir, replied his Secretary of Defense, a woman named Cordelia Snapworth, who had earned her position by being the only person in Washington who could make sense of the Pentagon's filing system, decode military acronyms, and explain why the Department of Defense needed 17 different types of staplers for optimal national security. And they're giving us time to prepare our surrender? It seems so, sir. The notice says they'll arrive shortly, but defines shortly as within the next 3 to 5 business days, weather permitting, assuming no union disputes, and subject to availability. A weather permitting, union disputes? Are you telling me that interstellar conquest is subject to labor negotiations and meteorological conditions? Apparently they don't travel during solar storms, sir. Union regulations. Something about overtime pay and hazard compensation. They've also included a detailed schedule showing their planned arrival times, with alternative dates in case of scheduling conflicts. The President leaned back in his chair, which was designed to be comfortable during extended crisis management sessions and featured built-in stress relief massage functions. Cordelia, do we have any protocols for dealing with polite invaders who provide advanced scheduling and customer service options? Well, sir, we have the Improbable Defense Scenarios Department. Dr. Crankshaw has been preparing for situations exactly like this for the past 15 years. She's developed contingency plans for everything from invasion by overly courteous aliens to attack of the bureaucratic space monsters. Get her here, now. And bring coffee, lots of coffee, the good coffee from the emergency reserves. Dr. Crankshaw, when summoned to the White House, arrived with 3 filing cabinets, a portable coffee machine, 17 different types of charts and graphs, a computer system that hummed ominously, and the sort of manic gleam in her eyes that suggested she had been waiting her entire career for this moment and was prepared to enjoy every second of it. Gentlemen, ladies, assorted government officials whose job descriptions probably never included alien invasion response, she announced, setting up her portable presentation screen with the efficiency of someone who had practiced this exact scenario approximately 437 times. Welcome to the most ridiculously prepared defense briefing in human history. She clicked to her first slide, which showed a cartoon alien waving a white flag while looking confused and slightly embarrassed. After years of planning for every conceivable invasion scenario, including several that violated the known laws of physics, we have inadvertently prepared for the one thing we never expected: aliens who are absolutely terrible at conquering planets. The Defense Secretary raised her hand like a student in a particularly strange classroom. How terrible are we talking, Dr. Crankshaw? Well, Penelope replied, consulting a chart that appeared to measure incompetence on a logarithmic scale. They've given us advance notice with scheduling flexibility. They're using what appears to be their weekend conquest fleet. They've provided customer service contact information, and they appear to have confused us with a completely different planet. According to our analysis of their transmission patterns, linguistic structure, and cultural references, they think we're still in the Bronze Age and are primarily concerned with whether we worship fire properly. The Bronze Age? But we have nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons, space technology, global communication networks, computers that can think faster than most organic brains, and the ability to deliver pizza anywhere on the planet within 30 minutes. But according to their assessment, we're primitive beings who worship fire, are easily impressed by shiny objects, and have never figured out the wheel. The president rubbed his temples, which had begun throbbing with the sort of headache that suggested reality was becoming too complicated for normal human comprehension. "So, what do we do, Dr. Crankshaw?" Dr. Crankshaw grinned with the expression of someone who had been preparing for this exact question for 15 years and had at least 47 different answers ready. "We give them exactly what they expect, Mr. President. And then we give them something they don't expect, which is the full creative, destructive potential of a species that has spent thousands of years perfecting the art of turning absolutely anything into a weapon, including but not limited to kitchen utensils, household appliances, children's toys, musical instruments, and mathematical concepts. Dassault, the Galactic Conquest Assessment Division Fleet, commanded by Admiral Bloomington Flurb, a being whose name roughly translated to enthusiastic bureaucrat with delusions of military competence, approached Earth with all the confidence of beings who had never encountered a species that considered psychological warfare a recreational activity and had turned passive aggression into a form of martial art. Admiral Flurb had earned his position through a combination of bureaucratic persistence, the ability to fill out forms in 17 different languages, and what his superiors generously called creative interpretation of military regulations. He was the sort of commander who planned invasions with the same attention to detail that others used for organizing dinner parties, complete with seating charts and dietary restrictions for conquered populations. The fleet consisted of 12 recreational conquest vessels, each roughly the size of a small moon, but with the structural integrity of a particularly ambitious sandcastle and the defensive capabilities of a cosmic vacation resort. The ships were designed for comfort rather than combat, featuring things like observation decks, recreational facilities, gift shops, and food courts that served 27 different types of alien cuisine, including several that existed only in theoretical physics textbooks. "Sir," reported Navigation Officer Quibble, whose job title was actually Senior Directional Suggestion Coordinator, "we're approaching the target planet. Shall I begin the standard intimidation protocols?" "Absolutely. Remember, these are primitive beings who probably think fire is magic and are easily impressed by loud noises. A few impressive displays of our technology should have them begging for mercy and asking for autographs. The first impressive display consisted of projecting a holographic image of Admiral Flurb's face onto Earth's atmosphere, roughly 50 miles wide and visible from most continents. Unfortunately, the Admiral had chosen to do this while eating lunch, resulting in a massive projection of an alien slowly chewing what appeared to be a sandwich made of living tentacles, small purple creatures that squeaked when bitten, and what looked like cosmic lettuce that changed colors based on the emotional state of whoever was looking at it. In the Situation Room, President Grimbaldi watched the display with the sort of fascination usually reserved for traffic accidents and reality television shows. Is that alien eating something that's still moving and appears to be trying to escape? Yes, sir. Our xenobiologists are calling it the most disgusting lunch in the history of the universe and a violation of at least 14 laws of nature. And it's supposed to intimidate us? Apparently, sir. They're now broadcasting a message that roughly translates to "tremble before our superior digestive capabilities and our ability to consume beings that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously." Dr. Crankshaw was taking notes furiously on a tablet that seemed to be analyzing the psychological implications of interdimensional cuisine. This is perfect. They're so confident in their superiority that they're not even bothering to scout our actual capabilities. They're literally showing us their lunch and expecting us to surrender. "What's our response?" asked the president, who was beginning to understand why Dr. Crankshaw had seemed so excited about this situation. "We send them exactly what they expect from a primitive civilization, Mr. President. Binkley, initiate Operation Underestimate this." Operation Underestimate. This was a masterpiece of calculated incompetence that had taken Dr. Crankshaw's team 3 years to perfect. The response Earth sent back was a video message showing humans in crude costumes made of cardboard, aluminum foil, and what appeared to be kitchen utensils duct taped together in patterns that suggested either primitive art or a complete misunderstanding of how clothing was supposed to work. The humans in the video spoke in broken English, while holding signs that read, "We surrender," "Please don't hurt us with your scary sandwich," and "We will worship your superior digestive system." They also performed what appeared to be a primitive dance involving a lot of jumping around and making noises that sounded like a combination of fear and confusion. The video included helpful subtitles that translated the human responses as things like, "Oh, great sky beings, we are impressed by your ability to eat things that shouldn't exist," and "Please accept our offering of shiny rocks and primitive fire-making tools." Admiral Flurb watched the transmission with the satisfaction of someone whose lunch had been properly appreciated by an entire planet. Perfect. They're even more primitive than the report suggested. They think my lunch is a demonstration of cosmic power. Navigation, set course for the primary population center. We'll accept their surrender and be home in time for dinner and the evening entertainment program. "Sir," interrupted Science Officer Blimp, whose actual job description was professional questioner of obviously bad ideas, "shouldn't we conduct a proper planetary survey first? Standard protocols require at least 47 different types of scans, a cultural assessment, a geological survey, a biological analysis, and a comprehensive review of local customs and dietary restrictions." "Nonsense, Blimp. Look at them. They're practically cowering. They think my lunch is a weapon of mass destruction. What could possibly go wrong with conquering a species that's impressed by sandwich technology?" The answer to that question was currently being prepared in a secret facility buried 3 miles beneath the Nevada desert, in a location so classified that it didn't officially exist and could only be found by people who had security clearances that were themselves classified. The facility, known only as the place where we keep the really weird stuff, had been working on something called Project Surprise for the past 15 years. Project Surprise was the result of giving Dr. Mordecai Crank Blast, Penelope's cousin, and the sort of scientist who made other scientists nervous and question their career choices, unlimited funding, and a mandate to prepare for the absolutely impossible. Mordecai was the kind of researcher who looked at the laws of physics and saw them as more like polite suggestions than actual rules. "Penelope," he called over the intercom system that connected his underground laboratory to the outside world. "Are you sure this is the right approach? I mean, we could just use conventional weapons, nuclear missiles, laser cannons, electromagnetic pulse devices, the usual planet defense arsenal." "Mordecai, my dear cousin." "Doctor." Crankshaw replied through the communication system, "Conventional weapons are for conventional invasions. These aliens are expecting Bronze Age humans who worship fire and are impressed by shiny objects. Let's give them something from the thoroughly confused age instead." The thoroughly confused age? The age where humans have advanced technology but use it in ways that make absolutely no sense to anyone who thinks logically about warfare. The alien fleet settled into orbit around Earth with all the precision of a cosmic ballet performed by beings who had never seen a ballet, weren't entirely sure what dancing was supposed to achieve, and had learned their formation flying from instructional videos that may have been created as jokes. They began deploying their standard conquest apparatus, which consisted mainly of large, intimidating machines that made impressive noises, projected holographic displays of their bureaucratic credentials, and didn't actually do much of anything except look official and slightly threatening. The conquest apparatus included things like the Surrender Processing Unit, which was essentially a cosmic filing cabinet designed to organize the paperwork involved in planetary submission, the Cultural Assimilation Engine, which looked impressive, but mainly just played educational videos about alien customs, and the Intimidation Projector, which displayed various images designed to inspire fear and respect, including Admiral Flerb's military credentials and a slideshow of previous conquests. "Sir," reported Tactical Officer Wimple, whose job was to monitor things that might indicate the presence of unexpected problems, "we're detecting some unusual readings from the planet's surface." "Define unusual, Wimple. Are we talking mildly concerning, or reality is having a breakdown and someone should call for technical support?" "Well, sir, they appear to be building something. Several somethings, actually. Large structures that don't match any known primitive technology. And they're building them very quickly, suspiciously quickly." Admiral Flerb waved a dismissive tentacle, which was his species' equivalent of an eye roll. "Probably some sort of primitive monument to our superiority. These species always try to appease their conquerors with crude artwork and offerings of their most valuable possessions. Sir, one of the structures appears to be singing." "Singing?" "Yes, sir. It's broadcasting what our translators are calling an extremely rude song about Admiral Flerb's personal hygiene, dining habits, and questionable military competence." The Admiral's face, all 6 of them arranged in what his species considered an aesthetically pleasing pattern, turned an interesting shade of purple that indicated either embarrassment or the onset of combat rage. "What? They're singing about my personal hygiene. It's actually quite catchy, sir. The crew has been humming it all morning. It's got a very memorable chorus about your tentacle grooming habits. Dr. Crankshaw, monitoring the alien communications from her command center, which had been converted from a facility originally designed to track weather patterns and was now dedicated to tracking patterns of alien confusion, was practically vibrating with excitement. They're taking the bait. They think we're building monuments to them. Binkley, initiate Phase 2 of Operation Creative Confusion. Phase 2 involved the sudden appearance of what appeared to be a massive golden pyramid in the middle of the Sahara Desert. The pyramid, roughly the size of Manhattan and constructed from materials that seemed to shift between existing and not existing depending on the angle of observation, began slowly rotating while playing what sounded like a cosmic mariachi band, having an argument with a digital theremin while accompanied by a choir of beings who existed only in theoretical mathematics. The pyramid also projected holographic messages in 17 different languages, including several that hadn't been invented yet, and at least one that existed only as a mathematical concept. The messages included helpful information like, "Welcome to Earth, please mind the gap between dimensions," and "This is a no parking zone for interdimensional vehicles," and "Have you tried turning your invasion off and back on again?" "Sir," Navigation Officer Quibble reported with increasing panic that made his voice rise to frequencies that hurt most beings' ears, "that structure just appeared, out of nowhere, and it's doing something to our sensors." "Doing what, exactly?" "They're showing us reruns of something called The Price is Right, but dubbed in a language that doesn't exist and featuring contestants that appear to be mathematical equations trying to win prizes that violate the known laws of physics." Admiral Flerb was beginning to experience what military tacticians call the growing realization that things are not going according to plan and may in fact be going according to someone else's plan entirely. This is impossible. Our intelligence reports clearly stated that these beings are primitive. They don't even have faster-than-light travel. Sir, Science Officer Blimp said quietly, perhaps we should consider the possibility that our intelligence reports were incomplete, or possibly written by someone who had never actually visited this planet. Incomplete? These beings can't even achieve faster-than-light travel. How could they possibly... He was interrupted by the sudden appearance of what appeared to be a giant rubber duck in orbit around the moon. The duck, which was roughly the size of Rhode Island and appeared to be made of materials that existed in at least 4 dimensions simultaneously, began quacking at a frequency that made the alien ship's hull plating vibrate in harmony and caused several crew members to start dancing involuntarily. The duck was also broadcasting radio signals that, when translated, appeared to be a comprehensive critique of the alien fleet's invasion strategy, including helpful suggestions for improvement and a detailed analysis of their tactical weaknesses. The critique was delivered in the voice of what appeared to be a very polite but slightly condescending cosmic entity with experience in interstellar conflict resolution. "Sir," reported Tactical Officer Wimple, "the duck it's jamming our communications and providing unsolicited military advice. A duck is jamming our communications and offering tactical suggestions? A giant rubber duck, sir, and it appears to be smiling at us. Also, it's asking if we'd like to participate in a customer satisfaction survey about our invasion experience so far." Dr. Crankshaw was now fully in her element, operating from a command center that looked like the result of combining a military installation with a theme park and a university research facility. "Gentlemen, Phase 3, deploy the confusion protocols and activate the interdimensional bewilderment engine." What happened next violated several laws of physics, at least 3 treaties governing the reasonable use of interdimensional technology, and probably a few regulations about noise pollution. The entire Pacific Ocean began to glow with a soft, pulsing light that somehow managed to be both soothing and deeply unsettling, like a cosmic lava lamp filled with liquefied anxiety. The glow formed patterns that, when viewed from space, spelled out a message in perfect galactic standard, complete with proper punctuation and footnotes. "Hello there, alien friends. Would you like to know more about our extended warranty program? We offer comprehensive coverage for planetary defense systems, reality stabilization services, and interdimensional customer support. Call now and receive a free consultation on your invasion strategy." The message also included a toll-free number and a website address for more information. "Sir," all 3 of Admiral Flerb's senior officers said simultaneously, which created an echo effect that made their panic sound like a cosmic chorus of confusion. "This is not in any of our contingency plans." "I can see that, gentlemen, but surely there's a logical explanation for..." The logical explanation was interrupted by the sudden appearance of the International Space Station, which had been secretly retrofitted with what Dr. Crankblast called the ultimate confusion engine and what NASA had officially designated as Project Why Not. The station began broadcasting a signal that caused every alien ship's computer to display an endless loop of humans doing something called the Macarena, while reciting the periodic table backward in ancient Sanskrit and providing detailed instructions for assembling furniture that didn't exist. The signal also included subliminal messages encouraging the aliens to question their life choices, consider career alternatives, and think about whether conquest was really the best use of their time and energy. "Sir," reported Communication Officer Flibble, "our computers they're trying to join in." "Join in what?" "The dancing, sir. Our navigation computer just requested permission to do something called the electric slide, and our weapons system is asking for lessons in what appears to be called break dancing. Also, our food replicator has started producing what it claims are traditional Earth celebration foods. but they appear to be sandwiches that exist in multiple dimensions and taste like the concept of happiness. Admiral Flurb sat down heavily in his command chair, which was designed to be comfortable during extended crisis management sessions and was equipped with built-in stress relief systems that were currently working overtime. This is impossible. We're dealing with primitives who think metal projectiles are advanced technology. Sir, Science Officer Blimp said carefully, perhaps our definition of primitive needs some adjustment. These beings appear to have weaponized confusion, militarized customer service, and turned reality itself into a tactical advantage. The adjustment came in the form of Phase 4, which involved the sudden activation of what appeared to be a massive disco ball in the asteroid belt. The disco ball, constructed entirely from decommissioned satellites, space debris, and what NASA proudly called creative engineering and really good duct tape, began reflecting sunlight in patterns that somehow managed to make every alien crew member feel inexplicably nostalgic for a childhood they'd never had, homesick for a planet they'd never visited, and emotionally attached to relatives who existed only in theoretical possibility. "Sir," reported Navigation Officer Quibble, "I'm experiencing emotions I don't understand. I feel homesick for a planet I've never visited and nostalgic for memories I'm pretty sure I never had. I keep thinking about my grandmother's cooking," added Tactical Officer Wimple, "but my species doesn't have grandmothers. We reproduce through bureaucratic committee and administrative paperwork." "I'm having flashbacks to a childhood pet," reported Communication Officer Flibble, "but my species doesn't keep pets. We consider emotional attachment to other beings a form of mental illness." Dr. Crankshaw, monitoring the psychological effects of the disco ball from her command center, made a note in her research journal. Note to self: interdimensional nostalgia beam more effective than expected. Recommend adding sad country music and home movies for enhanced emotional manipulation effect. Admiral Flurb, meanwhile, was having what could only be described as a comprehensive nervous breakdown combined with an existential crisis and a profound questioning of everything he had ever believed about the nature of reality. "This is madness. How can a primitive species be doing this to us?" "Sir," Science Officer Blimp said gently, "perhaps we should consider the possibility that they're not as primitive as we thought. Perhaps they're actually quite advanced, but in ways that we don't understand or recognize." "But the reports, the intelligence assessments, they clearly stated that these beings were harmless primitives who worship fire and are easily impressed by shiny objects." "Sir, when was the last time you actually read one of those reports? The complete reports, not just the executive summaries?" The Admiral paused, which created a moment of silence that seemed to stretch across the vast emptiness of space and echo with the sound of bureaucratic incompetence. "Well, that is to say, Plimpkin always gives me the executive summary during our morning briefings. Sir, Plimpkin is a glorified filing clerk whose species evolved from lint. He reads reports by absorbing the paper they're printed on and digesting the information through his digestive system. He's essentially getting his intelligence briefings through cosmic indigestion." The horrible truth was beginning to dawn on Admiral Flurb like a cosmic sunrise of incompetence. You're saying we've based our entire invasion strategy on intelligence reports that were literally eaten by a being made of nervous lint and processed through an alien digestive system? That would appear to be the case, sir. And these primitive beings are actually advanced enough to turn a disco ball into a weapon of mass psychological manipulation? Yes, sir. They've also weaponized customer service, militarized nostalgia, and appear to have turned basic human emotions into tactical advantages. Phase 5 began with what humans had decided to call the Big Reveal, or Operation Surprise. You've been punked by an entire planet. Every television screen, computer monitor, smartphone display, and reflective surface on Earth simultaneously displayed the same message. Surprise! You've been punked by planet Earth. Your primitive targets would like to formally invite you to reconsider your life choices, your career path, and your fundamental understanding of what constitutes effective military intelligence. The message was delivered by Dr. Crankshaw herself, who had somehow managed to hack into the alien fleet's communication systems using what she later described as a combination of advanced cryptography, really aggressive diplomacy, and the sort of creative problem-solving that comes from spending 15 years preparing for the impossible. "Hello, alien invaders," she said cheerfully, waving at the camera with the enthusiasm of someone who was having the best day of her professional life. "I'm Dr. Penelope Crankshaw, Director of Improbable Defense Scenarios, and I'd like to welcome you to Earth. As you may have noticed, we're not quite as primitive as your report suggested. In fact, we've been preparing for this exact scenario for the past 15 years. Admiral Flurb stared at the screen in horror that bordered on the cosmic. "This is impossible. Our intelligence clearly stated—" "Your intelligence, Doctor," Crankshaw continued with the patient tone of someone explaining something very simple to someone very confused, "was based on a filing error. The real Earth assessment report is currently being used as a coaster in your accounting department. The report you actually read was for a completely different planet, a planet that, incidentally, was conquered by a species of sentient mushrooms 3 years ago because they were actually primitive and easily impressed by shiny objects. But you're using metal projectiles." "Oh, we are! Along with energy weapons, quantum torpedoes, reality-altering devices, interdimensional confusion engines, weaponized mathematics, militarized customer service, and a really uncomfortable amount of psychological warfare. You see, we've had thousands of years to perfect the art of creative destruction. We've turned warfare into a form of entertainment, conflict resolution into an art form, and apparently we've managed to turn a simple misunderstanding into the most entertaining afternoon we've had in decades." The proof of this statement came in the form of Phase 6, which involved the sudden appearance of what appeared to be a massive popcorn machine in Earth's orbit. The machine, constructed from repurposed military satellites, space debris, and powered by what NASA called concentrated human stubbornness and really good engineering, began producing actual popcorn that somehow managed to spell out insults in 17 different languages as it drifted through space. The popcorn formed messages like, "Your mother was a hamster and your father smelt of elderberries" in ancient galactic, "Have you considered a career change?" in Universal Standard, and "This is what happens when you don't read the fine print," in what appeared to be mathematical poetry. "Sir," reported Navigation Officer Quibble, "the popcorn it's insulting our mothers, questioning our career choices, and providing unsolicited life advice." "Now, how can popcorn insult our mothers and provide life advice?" "Very creatively, sir. And in rhyme. Also, it appears to be offering coupons for something called interstellar therapy services." Dr. Crankshaw's broadcast continued. "Now, we could destroy your fleet right now. We have the technology, the weapons, the creative engineering skills, and frankly, the overwhelming urge to show off. We've been preparing for this scenario for 15 years, and we've developed responses to everything from polite invasion to aggressive bureaucratic conquest to attack of the really confused aliens who didn't do their homework. But instead," she continued, "we're going to give you a choice. You can either turn around and go home with a complimentary gift basket and our sincere apologies for the confusion, or you can stick around and find out what phases 7 and 8 involve." "Indeed, what do phases 7 and 8 involve?" Admiral Flurb asked his crew, with the tone of someone who really didn't want to know the answer, but felt professionally obligated to ask. "Sir," Science Officer Blimp said quietly, "I don't think we want to know. But based on everything we've seen so far, I suspect they involve things that will make us question not just our career choices, but our fundamental understanding of reality itself." The answer to that question was currently being prepared in facilities around the globe, in locations that were so classified they technically didn't exist and could only be accessed by people who had security clearances that were themselves classified and required permission from at least 3 different cosmic entities. Phase 7 involved something called the really uncomfortable truth ray, which Dr. Blast had designed to make its targets confront the fundamental absurdity of their existence, the meaninglessness of their bureaucratic careers, and the cosmic joke that was interstellar conquest as a form of entertainment. Phase 8 was classified at a level so high that even the president wasn't entirely sure what it did, but it involved the phrase ontological warfare, required a permit from the Department of Existential Threats, and had a warning label that read, "Caution may cause beings to realize that reality is optional." "Sir," reported Communication Officer Flibble, "we're receiving another transmission from the planet." "And put it through," Admiral Flurb sighed, with the resignation of someone whose day had gone from pleasantly routine to cosmically nightmarish in the span of a few hours. This time, the message was delivered by President Grimbaldi himself, who had decided that the situation called for what he called aggressive diplomacy, with style and possibly some interpretive dance. "Attention, alien invaders. This is President Fitzgerald Grimbaldi of the United States of America, and I have a proposition for you. We understand that you've made a mistake. Filing errors happen to everyone. We once accidentally declared war on Canada because someone misread a lunch order and thought they were threatening us with aggressive maple syrup deployment. These things occur in the best of bureaucratic organizations." "What's his point?" Admiral Flurb muttered. "Here's the deal," the president continued. "We're willing to overlook this unfortunate misunderstanding if you're willing to do something for us in return. You see, we've been trying to get in touch with your Galactic Conquest Assessment Division's Customer Service Department for years. We have some complaints about your previous customers, and frankly, we'd like to file a formal grievance." "Previous customers?" Admiral Flurb asked with growing dread. "Sir," Science Officer Blimp said carefully, consulting a report that was marked with warning labels in several languages, "I believe they're referring to the Vegan conquerors who tried to invade them in 1954. "The Vegans tried to invade Earth? Why wasn't this in our files?" "Yes, sir. According to our records, they were defeated by something called aggressive jazz music and a weapon that shot concentrated coffee at their ships. The entire invasion fleet surrendered after being exposed to what humans call bebop and double espresso." The president's message continued. "Those vegan fellows left quite a mess. Crop circles everywhere, confused cows, traumatized farmers, and frankly, some very disappointed agricultural communities. We'd like to file a formal complaint and possibly request compensation for the psychological damage inflicted on our livestock." Dr. Crankshaw appeared on screen next to the president. "Additionally, we'd like to propose a trade agreement. We have something your species lacks, the ability to turn absolutely anything into a weapon: kitchen utensils, household appliances, children's toys, mathematical concepts, customer service protocols, and apparently popcorn. In exchange, we'd like access to your bureaucratic systems. We're fascinated by your ability to make conquest so unnecessarily complicated and would like to study your filing methods." "Sir," Navigation Officer Quibble said quietly, "they're offering to teach us weaponization techniques in exchange for learning our bureaucratic processes." That's actually not a terrible deal," Admiral Flurb admitted. "Our bureaucracy is our greatest achievement as a civilization." "Sir," Science Officer Blimp added, "perhaps we should consider the possibility that these humans might make better allies than enemies. They seem to have a talent for creative problem-solving and an impressive understanding of psychological warfare." "Allies, but they're primitives." "Sir, they just made our entire fleet homesick using a disco ball, insulted our mothers with popcorn, and offered us therapy coupons. I think we may need to revise our definition of primitive to include terrifyingly creative and psychologically sophisticated. Phase 7, when it finally activated, was less a weapon and more a philosophical argument delivered at the speed of light and accompanied by a cosmic PowerPoint presentation. The really uncomfortable truth ray caused every alien in the fleet to simultaneously realize that they had spent their entire careers conquering planets for no particularly good reason, that their filing systems were a cosmic joke that had achieved a kind of artistic beauty, and that their entire civilization was built on a foundation of bureaucratic incompetence so profound that it had transcended mere inefficiency and become a form of abstract art. "Sir," reported Tactical Officer Wimple, "I'm experiencing what I can only describe as an existential crisis, combined with a profound appreciation for the absurdity of our situation." "Join the club," Admiral Fleur replied. "I just realized that I've been an admiral for 30 years, and I still don't know what half the buttons on my command chair actually do. Also, I'm beginning to suspect that our entire military strategy is based on hoping that the beings we're trying to conquer are even more confused than we are." "Sir," Science Officer Blimp said thoughtfully, "do you think maybe we should consider a career change? These humans seem to have figured out how to turn confusion into an art form and psychological warfare into entertainment. Maybe we could learn something from them." The final transmission from Earth came from Dr. Crankshaw, who had decided that the situation called for what she called aggressive friendship with hostile overtones and possibly some interpretive dance for emphasis. "Alien friends," she announced with the enthusiasm of someone who was having the best day of her professional life and wanted everyone to know it. "We've decided to make you an offer you can't refuse. Well, you can refuse it. But then we'll have to activate Phase 8, and nobody wants that. Trust us on this one. We've been very creative with Phase 8, and it involves concepts that don't technically exist yet." "What's Phase 8? Admiral Fleur asked weakly, with the tone of someone who had given up trying to understand anything that was happening and was just hoping to survive the experience with his sanity intact. "Sir," Science Officer Blimp said, consulting readings that seemed to suggest reality was having what could only be described as a nervous breakdown. "The sensor readings suggest it involves something called weaponized interpretive dance, combined with ontological warfare and aggressive customer service protocols." "Dear cosmic forces," Admiral Fleur whispered, "they've militarized the arts, weaponized philosophy, and turned customer service into a form of psychological warfare." Dr. Crankshaw's offer was elegantly simple and terrifyingly comprehensive. The alien fleet could choose to become Earth's first interstellar customer service representatives. In exchange for helping resolve complaints from previously conquered worlds, negotiating disputes between different species, and generally cleaning up the mess left by centuries of poorly managed galactic conquest, they would receive training in human-style creative problem-solving, access to Earth's vast collection of entertainment media, unlimited coffee, and comprehensive health insurance that covered existential crises. "Think of it, Doctor," Crankshaw explained with the enthusiasm of someone presenting the opportunity of several lifetimes. "You could spend your days helping resolve cosmic disputes instead of creating them. Plus, we'll throw in unlimited access to our coffee, which our analysis suggests is approximately 47 times more effective than your current stimulant beverages, and our entertainment systems, which include something called Netflix that contains more content than your entire species could consume in 3 lifetimes. Mein Tim." The offer also included comprehensive training in human psychology, creative problem-solving techniques, the art of turning any situation into a learning experience, and advanced courses in how to make friends and influence cosmic entities, and customer service as a form of diplomatic warfare. Additionally, Dr. Crankshaw continued, "We'll provide you with Earth citizenship access to our educational systems, and the opportunity to learn from a species that has turned creative chaos into a survival strategy. You'll be helping to establish the first truly effective interstellar customer service system, mediating disputes between species that have been arguing for centuries and basically becoming the cosmic equivalent of really well-trained diplomats with advanced degrees in creative problem-solving. Doom. The offer was too good to refuse, too comprehensive to ignore, and too perfectly suited to their newly discovered need for career change to pass up. Admiral Flurb, faced with the choice between admitting total defeat, spending the rest of his life trying to explain this incident to his superiors, and embarking on a completely new career path that actually seemed meaningful, chose what he later described as the most rational decision I've made in decades, possibly centuries. "Attention, Earth beings," he announced over the fleet-wide communication system with the tone of someone who had finally found his true calling in life. "This is Admiral Bloomington Flurb of the former Galactic Conquest Assessment Division. We formally accept your offer of employment, your comprehensive benefits package, your training programs, and your unlimited coffee. We also humbly request that you please never, ever activate Phase 8. Because we're pretty sure it would cause us to question everything we've ever believed about the nature of existence." The transformation of the alien fleet from invaders to customer service representatives was surprisingly smooth, efficient, and oddly satisfying for everyone involved. Within a few weeks, the ships had been converted into orbital call centers, equipped with the latest in customer service technology, comfortable seating, really good coffee machines, and communication systems that could handle complaints in 17,000 different languages and several forms of non-verbal cosmic communication. The former conquerors found themselves helping resolve disputes ranging from "The Andromedans keep stealing our parking spaces and won't stop playing their music at unreasonable volumes," to "The Centaurians won't stop broadcasting reality television shows that violate basic laws of physics and good taste," to "The beings from Rigel 7 keep sending us spam messages about extending our planet's warranty." Dr. Crankshaw, now serving as Director of Interstellar Relations and Chief Coordinator of Cosmic Customer Service, found herself busier than she had ever been in her life and more satisfied with her work than she had thought possible. "You know, Binkley," she said to her assistant, who had been promoted to Deputy Director of Impossible Situations, "when I started planning for improbable defense scenarios, I never imagined we'd end up running the galaxy's most successful customer service operation." "It's certainly unique," Binkley agreed, consulting a report about a dispute between two species of sentient mathematics who couldn't agree on whether zero was a number or a philosophical concept. "Though I have to say, Admiral Flurb is surprisingly good at de-escalating conflicts. He helped resolve that dispute between the Rigelians and the Tau-Cetians over mineral rights by getting them to realize they were actually arguing about completely different minerals on different planets. Who would have thought that aggressive bureaucracy could be channeled into constructive customer service? He's also developed an impressive talent for helping beings realize that most of their complaints are actually based on misunderstandings, filing errors, or the cosmic equivalent of not reading the instruction manual." The success of the Earth Alien Customer Service Initiative quickly became known throughout the galaxy through what could only be described as the fastest and most effective word-of-mouth marketing campaign in cosmic history. Other species began requesting similar arrangements, and within a year, Earth had become the unofficial mediation center for interstellar disputes, the go-to location for cosmic customer service, and the first planet to turn defensive warfare into a profitable service industry. The former invasion fleet had been transformed into a network of problem-solving specialists who could handle everything from territorial disputes to philosophical disagreements to complaints about poor service from other customer service departments. They had become, in essence, the customer service department for customer service departments, the ultimate meta-solution to the universal problem of poor conflict resolution. President Grimbaldi, in his year-end address to the United Nations and broadcast throughout the galaxy, summed up the situation with characteristic style and a profound appreciation for the absurdity of the entire affair. Ladies and gentlemen, beings of all species and dimensional configurations, we have successfully turned an alien invasion into a customer service opportunity, a potential planetary conquest into the galaxy's premier conflict resolution center, and a filing error into the foundation of interstellar diplomacy. I'm not sure what this says about humanity, but I'm pretty sure it's something uniquely ridiculous and surprisingly effective. Dr. Crankshaw, reflecting on the events that had transformed Earth from a supposedly defenseless planet into the galaxy's premier conflict resolution center, customer service headquarters, and training facility for creative problem-solving, realized that the greatest defense had been something no military strategist had ever considered: the sheer, overwhelming absurdity of human creativity combined with an inexplicable talent for turning any situation into an opportunity for improvement. Admiral Flurb, now known as Customer Service Supervisor Flurb, and holder of advanced degrees in human psychology, creative conflict resolution, and advanced coffee appreciation, had adapted to his new role with surprising enthusiasm and a level of job satisfaction he had never experienced during his military career. "You know," he told his former crew during their weekly team meeting, which was now held in a comfortable conference room with really good coffee and snacks that didn't violate any laws of physics, "I never realized how satisfying it could be to actually help people instead of conquering them. It turns out that solving problems is much more interesting than creating them. Plus," added former science officer Blimp, now director of interdisciplinary problem analysis, "the coffee really is exceptional. The working conditions are vastly superior to military service, and we're actually making a positive difference in the galaxy. Who knew that customer service could be more fulfilling than conquest?" And, noted former navigation officer Quibble, now senior coordinator of interstellar complaint resolution, "We get health insurance that covers existential crises, vacation time, and educational opportunities. It's like we've discovered a completely new way to live." The filing error that had started it all was eventually discovered when someone in the accounting department noticed that their coaster contained detailed warnings about a species that considers nuclear weapons a proportional response to mild inconvenience, beings who have weaponized mathematics and aren't afraid to use it, and a civilization that has turned creative chaos into a survival strategy and psychological warfare into entertainment. Indeed, the discovery led to a complete overhaul of the galactic filing system, the establishment of what became known as the Crankshaw Protocols for Invasion Intelligence, and a new requirement that all intelligence reports be read by at least 3 different beings who were not made of lint and did not digest information through their stomachs. But perhaps the most significant change was the establishment of the Universal Customer Service Academy, jointly operated by Earth and the reformed Galactic Conquest Assessment Division. The Academy trained beings from across the galaxy in the art of turning potentially destructive conflicts into opportunities for mutual understanding, improved customer satisfaction, and creative problem-solving. The Academy's curriculum included courses in advanced creative problem-solving, psychological warfare as diplomatic tool, how to turn confusion into clarity, customer service as art form, and the philosophy of practical problem resolution. The most popular course was Human Psychology 101, Understanding a Species That Weaponizes Everything, which had a waiting list that stretched across several star systems. Dr. Crankshaw, now recognized as the galaxy's leading expert on defensive diplomacy through creative confusion and holder of honorary degrees from 17 different planets, concluded her final report on the incident with an observation that would become famous throughout the civilized universe and be quoted in diplomatic circles for generations. Sometimes the best defense isn't a weapon at all. Sometimes it's simply the willingness to be so thoroughly, completely, and creatively unexpected that your enemies have no choice but to become your friends. Sometimes it's the ability to turn a crisis into an opportunity, a threat into a learning experience, and a potential disaster into the beginning of something better than anyone imagined possible. The Earth Defense Initiative, as it came to be known in academic circles and diplomatic history books, proved that the universe's most effective defense system wasn't built from metal and energy, but from imagination, adaptability, creative problem-solving, and the fundamental human inability to do anything the way it was supposed to be done. The initiative also demonstrated that sometimes the most powerful weapon against aggression was aggressive kindness, that the most effective response to hostility was hospitality, and that the best way to win a war was to turn it into something that wasn't a war at all. Dr. Mordecai Crankblast, reflecting on his role in developing the defensive systems that had made the entire operation possible, noted in his final project report, "It turns out that the most effective way to defend against invasion is to make the invaders question whether they really want to be invaders at all. Phase 8, incidentally, was never actually built. We just made it sound really scary and let their imaginations do the rest." The transformation had effects that rippled throughout the galaxy in ways that no one had anticipated. Other species began adopting human-style customer service protocols. Conflicts that had been ongoing for centuries were resolved through creative mediation, and the general level of galactic customer satisfaction increased dramatically. The Vegan conquerors, learning about the success of the Earth Alien Customer Service Initiative, formally apologized for their 1954 invasion attempt and requested assistance in establishing their own customer service department. They had apparently been struggling with complaints about their conquest methods for decades and were eager to learn more effective approaches to interstellar relations. The Universal Customer Service Academy became so successful that it required expansion to multiple planets, and its graduates were sought after throughout the galaxy for their unique combination of problem-solving skills, creative thinking, and ability to turn any situation into an opportunity for improvement. Admiral Flerb's autobiography, From Conquest to Customer Service, How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Problem-Solving, became a bestseller across 17 star systems and was required reading at diplomatic academies throughout the galaxy. Dr. Crankshaw's follow-up research, The Psychology of Creative Defense, How to Turn Your Enemies into Your Customer Service Representatives, was published by the Universal Academic Press and won the Galactic Prize for Most Innovative Approach to Conflict Resolution. President Grimbaldi's memoir, How to Accidentally Become the Galaxy's Customer Service Capital, a Political Autobiography, became a classic of diplomatic literature and was praised for its honest account of how sometimes the best policy decisions are the ones that seem completely insane at the time. The success of the initiative led to the establishment of similar programs throughout the galaxy, and within a decade, the traditional model of interstellar conquest had been largely replaced by collaborative problem-solving and customer service-based diplomacy. Earth became known throughout the galaxy not as a primitive backwater planet, but as the birthplace of creative diplomacy, the home of innovative conflict resolution, and the place where beings from across the universe came to learn how to turn problems into opportunities. The Department of Improbable Defense Scenarios was renamed the Department of Creative Diplomatic Solutions and became one of the most sought-after consulting organizations in the galaxy. Dr. Crankshaw found herself advising governments, mediating disputes between species that had been enemies for millennia, and teaching courses on how to defend yourself by making your enemies want to be your friends. The orbital customer service centers became models for similar facilities throughout the galaxy, and the techniques developed by the Earth-Alien Partnership were adopted by hundreds of other species seeking to improve their approach to interstellar relations. But perhaps the most remarkable outcome was the realization that the universe was full of beings who were looking for something better than conquest and conflict. They just needed someone to show them that there were alternatives, someone to demonstrate that cooperation was more satisfying than conquest, and someone to prove that customer service could be more fulfilling than warfare. And in the end, that made all the difference between conquest and cooperation, between invasion and invitation, between the end of one world and the beginning of a better galaxy for everyone. The universe, it turned out, had been waiting for someone who could turn a filing error into a diplomatic triumph, a disco ball into a weapon of mass confusion, a potential planetary conquest into the galaxy's most efficient customer service operation, and an alien invasion into the foundation of interstellar friendship. They just hadn't expected that someone to be a species that considered psychological warfare a form of entertainment and had turned creative chaos into their greatest strength.